I will start with we're today in the second day. I'm Shachi, your host for the Mekashkesh Festival, in English, Doodle. We celebrate 1 year for the podcast with visual creators from Germany, UK, Asia, Austria, USA, and Israel. Right now with me is Jacqueline Colley. She's a graphic designer, illustrator, textile designer, animal designer, pattern designers, using a lot of colors, and she got great stuff. And another thing I have to say, this festival, Mekashkesh Festival, is sponsored by Elementor, a website building platform for professionals who create and creators such as designers, developers, and marketeers. Elementor is a fast-growing company looking to hire talented designers to join their top-notch design department. Check out Elementor open position at career.elementor.com. And yeah, we can start. Hey, Jacqueline, what's up? How are you?
Yeah, good. Happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so for some of the viewers who don't know you, can you tell a little bit about yourself? And
yeah. Sure. So yeah, I'm an illustrator, pattern designer.
I'm stopping you, but you wanted to share the screen, right?
Oh yeah, sure. So shall I go ahead and do that?
You can share it?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Let's do that.
Cool.
Is that working?
Yeah.
Yeah? Does it say hello?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, fab. So yes, I'm an illustrator, a printmaker. I do a lot of silkscreen printing and risograph printing. I'm based in London, and yeah, I'm all about color and pattern and overlaying colors together in the print process, and yeah, typography. I like a lot of different things, and my designs are everything and the kitchen sink. So maximalism is my friend. So yeah, a little bit of background about me. I'm graduated from graphic design in 2008. I have a slide which has some work on it. This is work from college, which is weirdly similar to things that I still make now, but I think that's because you make a lot of different work in college, and then I went back and sort of put together an edit, and these are the things that are sort of weird echoes from the past, and it makes it look like there's a clear path, but there wasn't a clear path at all, so don't be misled by that. But you can see that there was always an interest in color and pattern, but I definitely, in college, you do a lot of other things as well. So yeah, I studied graphic design at Chelsea, and I chose graphic design because I wanted to get a job. I didn't ever get a job in graphic design, probably because I spent way too much time doing illustration and drawing and thinking that if I had a degree in graphic design, I'd get a job in graphic design. But actually I answered all the briefs with illustration. So I was in a pickle after I left college, and I signed on the dole, and it was the beginning of the financial crisis, and we were having a bit of an economic downturn. But I'd hung out a lot at college with a girl who was on textile design at the same art university, and she'd gotten a graduate position at H&M, the high street fashion company. So I said to her, oh, please, can I have an email address? I want to send them my work. And I was very fortunate that I got a graduate role at H&M, which meant after doing sort of 3 months training in London, I got to go to Sweden and work at the head office, and they put me in children's wear because I had a lot of sketchbooks filled with things like dinosaurs and flowers and sort of things that end up on fabric. So yeah, so I worked in high street fashion for a bunch of different brands for about 6 years. So I worked in H&M, and then I went behind the scenes and I worked for a kind of fabric converter, they're called, and basically what they do is they just print fabric and then they sell it to different brands. So I spent a lot of time making lots and lots of different prints and just learning to kind of work really fast, learning to use lots of different software. I first of all, we used to work on Illustrator. I can't even remember how to use Illustrator anymore because I've just been using Photoshop for the past sort of 6 years. So then I went and worked for a British brand, which actually folded this year, but I think now they're bought by someone else, so they might still exist. But I spent 2 years doing half of their prints and pattern, and they were very print focused brand, so that was great because the print was the star of the show. So I got to really kind of go to town, and we did a lot of collaborations with museums like the Victoria and Albert Museum, who have amazing archives, and I just get to do a lot of kind of cutting and collaging of beautiful vintage paintings and things like that, which was amazing. And then after, so sorry.
Yeah, can I ask, because it's a really different style what we see before, like with the kids, and then how did that connected?
Yeah, there's a massive period of evolution in between, because after a year on kids wear, I really decided I wanted to work on women's wear because there's a lot more breadth of style and it's a little bit less kind of narrow. Though actually my style is probably more suited to kids wear, but I think I wanted to learn and do lots of different things. And then working at the print converter, I was doing loads of different, I mean, textile design is not about having a style, it's about working in so many different styles. So it was like an education in not necessarily copying, but learning to have a hand in lots of different writings kind of thing. So it was like, yeah, it was a constant turning over of different ideas, which can be quite, it can mean you lose. I definitely lost my sense of what was my style through that process. And then it was a reclaiming of relearning what my style is after leaving textile design. So when I left textile design, I freelanced, and I freelanced a lot for old clients. So Oasis was one of my old clients. And so that was what kept me kind of going financially and meant that I could sort of gradually transition and find my voice as well. So this was a project that was a collaboration with London Zoo, and they wanted a lot of different animals drawn, and this was the beginnings of me getting to just do more my thing. So that was great, but also in a kind of project with a client. But yeah, I definitely have worked in a lot of different styles and gotten very lost in my time. So yeah, leaving textile design was very much with this focus of I don't want to be told what to do, which is the dream, right? And I'm still not there, but I get to do what I want to do a bit more now, or a lot more now. So I was frustrated with commercial ideas of what pattern should be. And I really wanted to just create some bonkers patterns, stuff that I wanted to see, stuff that I wanted to wear, things like that. So yeah, and then to do that, I've had to kind of balance it with freelance jobs, working as a textile designer in a freelance kind of on a day rate, bashing out prints for people. And then on the days that I had to myself, I would do more what I wanted and then try and get editorial illustration work. So this smaller image of the sewing stuff, that's for like a women's craft magazine. So I gradually started to get a few clients and bits and bobs of work. But yeah, definitely wanted to do more the crazy stuff. So sort of stationery and things like that is more my kind of realm, because on clothing you are a little bit limited because not everyone wants to wear the craziest thing. A lot of people want to wear stripes and spots and things. Yeah, so this was quite fun because this was a project where I got to go back and design for fabric, but this is fabric for people who make quilts. It's like there's this huge market in North America especially, but a little bit around the rest of the world, where people buy fabrics to cut them up and create quilts, which wasn't something that I was aware of, but you can do quite fun designs in this market. So that's something I've worked on a bit. And what's fun about that is it was a little bit like going back to my old job where I was designing collections all the time. So this was again thinking about ditsies and simplistic designs and how you build a whole collection. So you have your main like hero print, and then you have your simpler ideas and your kind of more they call them low volume, like your polka dots or whatever. So I've got sprinkles, and then I've got donuts, and it all links together. And this is inspired by an American road trip, which is what often sort of inspires my work. Yeah, so I've just put some projects in here that I really like. So this is a project that I did really recently for Chili's, which is a reusable water bottle brand. So that was really fun because it was an open brief and they'd seen some of my Americana designs and they came to me for that kind of pattern. So that was great. And it's funny because people only ever really employ you for stuff that they have already seen you do. So this is why personal work is so important in your portfolio, because you just don't get someone ever kind of taking a chance on you. They often just ask you to do a version of something that already exists, or that's what happens to me a lot. So yeah, that was fun. So I drew this. This is a place in New Jersey called Wildwood, and it's where this form of architecture that in the mid-century was very popular with motels, and it's like a living museum with all these beautiful mid-century designs and like fake palm trees everywhere because it's not hot enough to have actual palm trees. So it's like this bizarre, surreal place, and I just loved it. And deliberately went there and then just took endless amounts of photographs, and yeah, eventually got to make a pattern after revisiting those photographs.
You've been there, or you just Google Maps it?
Yeah, so I went several years ago, and when they approached me, and so I went to Palm Springs like a long time ago, and I did a lot of work inspired by Palm Springs, and then they approached me saying, oh, we'd love something along the Palm Springs line. And in the interim time I'd visited Wildwood because it was on my kind of bucket list of places to go, and I thought, actually, rather than doing more things about Palm Springs, I want to focus on somewhere different, even though there's a lot of similarities because the period of architecture is very similar, but it was a different kind of project. So it's good, sometimes you have to find a way to make it a bit more you, because otherwise you can't, it's difficult, I'm sure you know this, working on the same project over and over again and trying to make it feel fresh.
Right.
Yeah, so here's some more random bits of work. So I work in a lot of different mediums, so sometimes that also changes your style a little bit. So I work in the computer to do really flat drawings. So this was all drawn first by hand as pencil sketches, and then in the computer because it was going to be silkscreen printed. So I wanted to draw it ready kind of for printing so that there was less back and forth kind of thing. And then I also, this is all felt tips and ink. And then I also really like working with coloring crayons. So, and this was actually a project with a coloring crayon manufacturer. So I had to use their coloring crayons, but I do really like using them as well, and in combination as well. So you can see this project on the left is an editorial piece about single mothers and like useful tools. And that's all like ink and mostly felt tip. And then this is pencil crayon. And then the project at the bottom is a project I did right almost this time last year for Great Ormond Street Hospital. They asked me to decorate their front doors to make it a really inviting entrance for the children, because it can obviously be really daunting for them to go to hospital. So I loved that, and their brief for they have a theme every year, and their theme was biophilia, which is about how spending time in nature or even looking at images of nature can actually improve our health. And because it's a hospital, they can't have plants because that's a kind of, that can be spread diseases and be dangerous. So they had this biophilia theme, and they spread plants around the hospital through visuals. So that was a great brief to work to, and I designed these kind of tropical doors. And also because all the wards have names of animals, some brilliant ones like butterfly and flamingo and a leopard ward, so I pulled some of those in as well and got some animals in there because I thought the kids are gonna like that. So
this kind of project, like the scale is very big to work on window, and I guess you work on with your sketchbook or your...
Yeah, so I heavily planned it out. So I measured the panels for each of them, and then I'd worked to like, maybe say it was 1 meter, I worked to like, I don't know, 10 centimeters or something in my computer, so that it didn't kill my computer. But I drew it all out in my computer, and then I printed it out, and I took prints from just like A4, kind of not great quality prints from my home printer to the site, and I got a friend to come help me, and the girl who commissioned it helped as well, because we only had 1 day, because it's their main entrance, so they had to close the doors and use a side entrance, so it's not great. And we did it on like a Sunday because it's the quietest day, and we just sort of bashed it out, and it went a little bit off-piste, but it just kind of had to be done. And I pre-mixed all the inks. I set a set amount of colors, I think it was 5, pre-mixed all the inks, so there was like as little as possible to do on the day. It was just the painting to do. And I did a print out for just the logo, which you can't see here, but just where it was my name and the hospital's name, just so that I could stick that to the opposite side of the glass and just trace it for speed. So yeah, tried to do some tricks to make it quick.
Nice.
Yeah, and previously they'd done it with Posca pens, which had also looked really good, but I wasn't that confident that Posca pens were going to be right for me, because I wanted more some solid areas of color. And you can't tell, but the pink is quite a neon color, and although you can get a neon color Posca, actually the pink on Posca pens is quite neon, but there was a specific kind of pastel neon I wanted, so I went for it's just acrylic ink, because you can actually just scrape it off. It's gone now because it was only on for about 9 months, but you can just scrape it off, so it's quite easy. Yeah, so that's a fun project. And then like the vast majority of my work, especially the things that are published on my website or on my Instagram, is all things I designed for my shop or things I designed for social media, but mostly things I designed for my shop. I think because of my background in working for high street fashion, when I left, I didn't think I'd ever be handling products again, but then ironically, I've ended up always working with products. And I think that's because that's where my strength is, because of those years spent doing that. So I've spent a lot of time sort of, I've almost always had an online shop, or I've had an online shop for about 6 years, and I've always had just a couple of bits on it. And then when I went freelance, I started gradually kind of building that up, and that's become a big part of my practice. And often those projects lead to maybe a commission or something like that.
How did you learn, like, to build? This is one of the hardest things to build as a freelance illustration, to build your own store, to send the things, to promote it.
Yeah. I think it was never deliberate. It's just gradually always been there. So I used to have a big cartel shop where you could have like 5 listings for free. And then when I moved to Squares, and then when did I change that? I can't remember, but it's kind of, I think it's always been part of my practice to kind of have a shop with a couple of bits in it, and then it's gradually built. But yeah, I totally agree that it can be like a daunting task to think, oh, I'm going to start a shop. It's much easier to just kind of incrementally add to what you already have, like whether that's a zine or a print or a tea towel. I'll show you, I've got a slide, we can just skip to that. Yeah. So this kind of shows a bit of an evolution, and you can see that like back in 2015 when I just left my my job working in women's wear, it was very women's wear. It was very influenced by the years that I'd spent in textile design. And then as I've moved through time, I've definitely found my voice a lot more. I've experimented with loads of different product types. So I started off with notebooks and cards and tea towels. And then I went, I didn't think I'd do that well with art prints, but eventually I ended up just really doing art prints, which is mainly what I do now. And I had a stage where I did the enamel pins and the patches, which are always really popular and with artists. So I definitely went through that phase. And I started off with lampshades and cushions, which I haven't got here because they're really cringe-worthy. But yeah, I've gone through all the different stages. But it's yeah, it's an evolutionary process.
And someone asked about the colors. I love the colors today you use. But the evolution of your colors, can you tell a little bit about it?
Yeah, well, I think I've been massively influenced by risograph printing, which I've been doing for maybe 4 years now. And oh, I can show. Oh, I don't know. Oh, you can't see because I'm maybe if I stop sharing my screen for a second. Oh, I can't. Oh, hang on there. Yeah, can you see me?
Yeah.
So I'm really into risograph printing, and so I printed with so many different printers over this is the first printer that I used to print with that doesn't exist anymore. And then I used to print with Hato Press, who have loads of cool stuff, and that's their color palette. So what I do is I cut these up and I make color palettes. So that's a cut up one, because basically you could print with like 9 colors if you wanted to, but it would cost a lot more. So I think because of silkscreen printing and risograph printing, I've ended up using these more succinct color palettes where there's less. So here's one, they're all around, they're everywhere. So that's one that's been sort of influenced. And I've got, I mean, I've got stuff everywhere, sorry. So those have really, the color palettes have really influenced how I see color and use color. And then I think that's kind of permeated through my work. That's a better one because it's on white. So you can see, and then they show examples of how you might layer the colors together. And I just love that. That's just inspires me so much. So when I start a project, so I'm working on some at the minute and I've got my color palette. So this is kind of one color palette and this is another. And that's just often how I begin. And then this is a print of mine that's backwards. But yeah, so this is how this is how I think now, I think.
We have I think 2 Rizo companies in Israel.
Oh, what are their names?
2 studios. We got Hawaii, and the other one is O'Hara Rizo. These are the 2 I know that working. If someone knows more, write down.
Yeah, you have to send me the links. I always love to look at because it's so interesting how every press has a different style, a different color palette, a different kind of thing going on. It's really like they are this kind of microcosm universe of inspiration. So yeah, I love working with Riso, and I think that has really influenced my work.
And where did you learn about Riso?
So I went to a printer called 2 Press when they used to exist, and they just said to me, I think first of all I sent them some CMYK separations because you can print in that way, and they printed that for me, and I was like, no, this isn't what I want. And they were like, okay, so probably what you want to do is redraw your drawing using just the colors you're going to use and using multiply, because I use Photoshop, so I think you can probably do it on any of them, but multiply basically does that thing where it has the two different colors overlaid and it in Photoshop, so it shows you this kind of guesstimate of how your colors are going to look. And because I use Photoshop, and it's just kind of been a gradual experimentation process, so I take things that I thought could be prints that existed already and I'd redraw them with risograph printing in mind. And yeah, so now I have a much more succinct way of working. So in this image you can see that I'm using, this is a combination of coloring crayons and felt tips, but I can get that kind of overlay feeling to guess how the ink is going to be. And I never have exact matches on the colors, but it's just kind of like a process. So here in the middle is my sketches, and then to the left you can see my Photoshop drawings. And the beauty of risograph printing is you can use opacities. So so on, can you see my mouse moving on the screen?
We can't see the mouse.
Oh right, I'm pointing it.
Oh, no. You need to do it slowly or something.
Oh, hang on. So when I showed,
we can see now.
Oh right. Yeah, so this is like each color you can print at loads of different opacities. So it's like for every color you're actually getting loads of different tones. So you can, this is pure black, and then all the way down through all the different grays. So you literally send your file with lots of different tones, and then you get more for your money in a way than you do with screen printing, because with screen printing you're just pulling through that one color, and you can use textures to sort of soften some colors. But yeah, so it's a bunch of different things that I love about Risso that make it really yeah, just the best. I love it.
The important thing you didn't say, that it's fast.
Yeah, it's fast. And also I don't print, I give it to the printer to do. So with my silkscreen printing, I have to print it. It's so labor intensive and takes so much time. But with Risso, it's like, give it to someone else and it's great. You just pick it up and it's time saving. Yeah. So yeah, so I'm a big believer, this is both Risso on this page. And then I'm a big believer in the kind of personal work leads to commissions eventually. Sometimes it takes years. People come to you with a really old drawing, like, I'd like a version of this, like, really? From so long ago. And then that gives you time to work on your personal work. So it's a continuous cycle, but this is why. And also this big green arrow is pointing to my favorite saying, which is make work, share work, make new work, share new work, repeat. Because it's like, you just got to keep on sort of making new things and trying things out. And then with the shop, the online shop, and you were saying about marketing and how tricky it can be to kind of build up an audience and stuff, I totally agree with that. And for me, it's always been, I've been doing in-person markets in London and sort of around the UK for about probably 5 years. And those have been really great for sort of actually, I didn't really feel like I belonged to a creative community before I did those, and then suddenly you meet a lot of people doing them. So yeah, so this is this is what I think about with marketing. I think offline markets, workshops, not that I do those, but those are good. Pop-ups, wholesale I do, murals, shop window displays, indie magazines. Oh, I'm a big fan of collaborating with other small brands, especially like small brands I've met at markets. Sometimes it takes years and then you'll suddenly go, oh, we should work together. And that can be great for sharing audiences and skill swapping as well. And then online, I do all of these: website, online, shop, social media. I ask blogs to feature me. I occasionally gift products to influencers. I haven't done a Kickstarter ever, but I've heard they're good. Then I do a monthly mail out. I do Behance. I'm a big fan of Etsy. I think Etsy's great. I ignored it for years and years. I don't know why. I think it's brilliant. Pinterest.
You work with Etsy like on daily basis?
Oh no, I just sell on there. I don't work with them. So everything that I sell on my online shop, I sell on there because it's a different audience.
Right. But it's not like a lot of work of promoting on Etsy and find the right people on Etsy.
I think it takes time
to find people on Etsy.
I think what's good about Etsy is that the audience is already there, but sometimes it took the first time I did Etsy, I uploaded a couple of things and nothing ever sold, and then I ignored it for years because I was like, this place is awful, no one wants to buy my things. Yeah. And then for some reason you get a couple of sales, and I suppose it's an algorithm thing, then it starts, or you work on your tags and how people find you and how you tag your products well and all of this stuff. Now suddenly Etsy for me is quite busy, so it used to be rubbish, but yeah, it's kind of everything in this though is long game tactics. It's like nothing is quick.
Yeah, definitely. Only the result.
Yeah. Thank God for Rizzo. It's the best.
I want to ask another question about this slide. About you talked about the community and like getting to know people. So how are you on this year? Like now it's a little bit different, I guess, for this community. What do you get to talk with all these people?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's much in the way of community this year. Like I had one market in September, which was between, because I'm in London, it's basically been one constant lockdown, but I had one market in September when we happened to have a low infection rate, and it was like this joyous occasion where people could see each other and talk to each other and read. I was going and reading everyone's zines and people I don't even know, but it's just like you're on the same bandwidth or whatever, and people are printing in Risso everywhere. But yeah, it's there's very little in the way of community this year. It's been very strange, and often I do live, like I work from home. I don't have a lot of interaction with creative community anyway, because I don't have a shared studio or something like that. But it's been much more noticeable this year, because normally I'd have markets or creative conferences or like touch points or talks, or so it's sad because London normally has a lot of stuff going on, but nothing now. Yeah.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah, looking forward to it being over. But yeah, markets have been great for finding other creatives, and markets is how, so there's a girl called Scout Editions who is a brilliant graphic designer, illustrator, and all her products are risograph printed, and it was from talking to her that she said to me, you need to try risograph because I think you'd really like it because you have a lot of color and you work in a way that would work for risograph. So that's it all comes from those conversations that you have. Right. But I suppose this is a bit of community, isn't it? You've created a community, so we're in the community now. So that's good.
That's the alternative. We have a question from one of the viewers. He asked about your work. How do you, like, your process between the digital to the analog, like from the analog to the digital, how do you work?
Yes, I've got something. So I can show you, I'll stop this again. I don't have I can't show you the computer drawings, but, or maybe I can actually. So I start by doing loads of different sketches, but this is like a final pencil sketch. So this is what I'm working on at the moment, but it's changed now. And then I do the color sketch, because if I don't, it'll all go wrong when I get in the computer. So I just have quite a laborious process, because then I redraw the whole thing in the computer. But that's just how I like to.
What's the material you work with?
So felt tip. I think the orange is felt tip, and the green and the pink is coloring crayon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I like the combination, and then you can see that it's something like the Risso color. It's not quite exactly the same, but it's like to help me think about how it's going to be. And then all of that gets redrawn again in Photoshop, and then it gets turned into layers, and then the layers get taken the color out and all turned into grayscale.
The system you is something from many years of working?
Yeah, well, I think this is more a recent way of working that's working for me now. I can show you. So this is my Palm Springs drawings, and all of this is felt tip and ink, and then all of this gets scanned in. So this isn't, so that's for like when I'm printmaking, but when I'm making patterns, I will scan all this in, then cut it out, and then create the pattern. So this pattern isn't in my talk, but it's similar to other patterns in it. So for example, there's the pool float, and then I'll cut it out and I'll stick it on top of the pool. There's the pool.
Wow.
So that I can then, my way of working is very long-winded, but if I try and make it quicker, it doesn't come out right. So I just have to resign myself to the process and just kind of go with it. And also I think part of it is because I like the process, so I can't avoid the process. But yeah, there you can see it's a lot of different separate elements. So there's a pool, and yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Actually, I guess that now the people that watch your work, and they would say, "Oh, I understand why Shachi brought Jacqueline to the podcast, because I have a group of illustrators called the Tushim Gang, like felt tip gang, markers gang."
Amazing.
I think it's 6 years on. I think we started 7 years ago. We're doing like stuff together outside, and only felt tip. And I guess that is really the connection. I know you because I really love felt tip, and now you show like the original with the felt tip that it's so unique and so precise. So it's fun to see the sketches, not yeah.
I'll show you my obsession with felt tips.
Oh.
I love them so much. They are the best. They have amazing colors and fine lines. And I know some people don't like that you get this kind of line effect when you color in, but I love that. That's like the goodness of the felt tip.
That's the soul.
Yeah, texture and yeah, material. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, you have to show me the felt tip gang. I want to be part of it.
Yeah, we'll do something international now.
Yeah, that's a gang I want to be in.
Yeah,
okay.
So we didn't talk about, we have a question. What kind of felt tips do you use? You have a brand you like? Yeah,
so I really like Tombow. This is Tombow because you get a fine end and you get a brush end. They are expensive, but they take a long time to run out. And I like the water-based ones or the alcohol ones, but I think the water-based is slightly cheaper. But yeah, you can tell that I can't stop buying them. It's a problem.
Yeah, definitely. We almost finished. But the question I want to ask you about the inspiration.
Yes.
So, I guess 50s is something you like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all this kind of style. Can you tell me artist or music or design that inspires?
Well, it's so funny because for me, I should show you some things. For me, I have all stuff like this in front of me, which is not by artists, it's by commercial artists, but it's all like, it's all stuck. But things like advertising, I'm just obsessed with stuff like this. And I buy like packaging, and I can show you some things, but they're all over there. But boxes, packaging, like.
Yeah, we can see behind you next to the cat.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is me. So this is me making papier-mâché juice. But yeah, anything. I mean, I've got just things that I pick, because when we go to, because America's amazing. It's just like you can buy, like, this is lithograph. I'm going to pull stuff down from my wall now. But this is like lithography. I bought like a whole bunch of these that were found in a lithographer's basement, and it's cheap as chips, but it's just like all that kind of like, you know, that kind of, it is very much Andy Warhol, like all those paintings that he did that were, I just went to his exhibition at the Tate a couple months ago when I could go to exhibitions. It's those Coke cans, it's those tins of soup, it's all that stuff that wasn't considered art, but Andy Warhol saw it and was like, that's art. That is my cup of tea. But yeah, it's American. It's, for some reason, it's American a lot of the time, but I think that's because we grow up watching American movies and American TV, and it just sort of filters in. It's that whole like who's the famous director, E.T., like that kind of, all those kind of, you know, like Stranger Things? Stranger Things,
right?
Yeah, all of that kind of, and Super 8, the film, all that kind of retro 80s, because I'm an 80s kid. It's that nostalgia for that era. I just can't help it. I'm just it's bad. But yeah, there's not particularly artists that, but there's so many artists that influence me, but that is what I'm sort of obsessed with at the minute, but have been for a long time. But then I also love nature and drawing plants and things like that, so a lot of different things, and all Hawaii and all of that kind of and it's endless.
So Mariana wrote that it's Spielberg, the director.
Oh, Spielberg, yeah. That's the one. That really famous guy that I can't remember the name of. Thank you.
But we have time for a tip for the viewers. If you have a tip for like young designers that want to open like a shop and to do it. Yeah, so I think photography is key. So I'm going to show my screen one more time because I've got a slide on this. So this is my home setup, and it's very basic, very cheap. This is continuous lighting, which I bought from Amazon probably like several years ago, and this is just so basic. This is like a £40 setup with a roll of paper, and that's how I do all my photography. And then I take the photo, which is in the middle, and then I do a little bit of brightening it up in Photoshop. But the key to the online shop is just good photography, because yeah, people won't buy your stuff if they can't feel like they trust it, or like the images aren't good. So yeah, I think photographing things from lots of different angles, upside down, inside out, all of those things. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like someone just wrote. It looks perfect. And do you have more? What kind of spotlight is it?
So it's called continuous lighting, and there's loads of options online. You can get them probably secondhand as well, but I bought mine from Amazon, and they're unbranded. They're direct from China, but they're still going. I've still got the same. I've got one on now because otherwise it would be so dark in here, but it's the same bulbs. It came with the bulbs and the stand, and it's a very simple, but with that it makes all the difference. You just need light. Yeah. And then I use my phone, so just like a iPhone.
Really?
Yeah.
So I think the presentation was like perfect, how you presented, and someone just sent if there is any more slides to see.
No, I think that's it. I mean, there's one slide on inspiration, but it's probably a bit boring, but I'll show you. I think this is the last one, and this is just like, oh, actually, you can see this is a better answer to inspiration. I love Pinterest. I'm obsessed with Pinterest. This is my color board on Pinterest. This is a great account on Instagram. Color makes people happy. He takes film stills and turns them into color palettes, and that just makes me so happy. I love following photographers, especially photographers who photograph any part of America, especially things like theme parks or, you know, things like that. And then this is me eating my lunch, and that's a color palette. Yeah, I put that together for some uni students because they were asking about how to make a color palette. But yeah, all of that. What did I write? I like looking through my old sketchbooks because I often have the same ideas again and again. Photographs, I constantly take photographs. I love secondhand bookshops, museums and art galleries when I'm allowed to go to them. I like to go to antique markets, flea markets, car boots, we call them here. I love them. Pinterest, nature walks, all of that.
Okay, great. So they sent, thank you. Nurit says you're amazing.
Oh, thank you so much for coming to see me.
2 dots is the most beautiful game there is.
I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with it.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Wow.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been lovely.
It was really fun. Yeah, we will meet in the Tushim gang. In the mountains.
Yes, please.
We will talk about it.
Invite me.
And thanks to all the listeners who came to saw Jacqueline or listen to her work and the Mekashkesh Festival. We will continue at 8. And thanks for everyone who came. And of course, thanks to our sponsor, Elementor, website building platform for professional web creators such as designers, developers, and marketeers. Elementor is a fast-growing company looking to hire talented designers to join their top-notch design department. Check out Elementor's open position at real.elementor.com. Jacqueline, thank you so much for coming to the festival and talking to us. And we need to do another talk about Rizo, I think.
Yeah. We could talk about it all day.
Okay, so thanks to everybody and see you next time, I guess, in the Rizo talk.
Brilliant. Bye.
Bye-bye.